Thou wast that all to me, love, for which my soul did pine. A green island in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last! Ah, starry hope, that this to rise, but to be overcast. A voice from out the future cries, on, but o'er the past. Dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies, mute, motionless, aghast. For Alice, Alice with me, the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea, to descend upon the shore. Shall bloom the thunder-blessed tree, or the stricken eagle soar. And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy grey-eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams, in what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams. Among all the poetry ever written by Edgar Allan Poe, To One in Paradise is perhaps one of the most well-known pieces and the deepest in meaning to have ever been published. Throughout the course of a complicated life, which includes becoming an orphan at the age of 3 and watching his relationships and military career fall into pieces, Poe goes through 40 years of hardships fully attached with the poetry in his mind as a way to escape a reality just too difficult to bear. His marriage with his 13-year-old cousin Virginia in 1836 was to him a brief moment of happiness, where he managed to publish several books, articles, and literary critics, alongside working at the Burton's General magazine. Brief it was, though, because at the same moment Virginia began to suffer from tuberculosis, and that led to her early death in 1847. Virginia's death became a burden, and Poe saw himself obliged to carry it, and he started to make excessive usage of alcohol and even attempt suicide with the help of laudanum. On October 3, 1849, Poe was found in the streets of Baltimore dressed in clothes that weren't his and raving. He was taken to a hospital, but ended up dying only 4 days after. To One in Paradise is considered to be his final words to Virginia, a letter in which he was finally able to recognize she was gone and all the sadness that came with that. The poem contains the moment where he realized just how miserable his life was without her, and expresses an overall depressing picture of his despair and hopelessness, the distress of losing a dream. The poem is divided into 4 stanzas and 3 parts, each that creates a different scenery inside the reader's mind. It makes use of particular poetic techniques, ranging from metaphors to repetitions and alliterations. For that matter, in To One in Paradise, Poe has created a phainopopeia. Because it focuses on creating an image on the reader's mind, the rhyme scheme is presented, although not exactly rigid as it can be seen in the first stanza. A, B, A, B, C, B. This particular stanza states the longing for a loved one and emotional attachment. Here, love is repeated twice and strategically works in order to show the poems being addressed to someone the author holds dear. Thou wast that all to me, love, is there in the meaning of you were all to me. But the following sentence, for which my soul did pine, already reveals that something did happen, since the author claims that his soul is losing strength and consuming itself. The next 3 verses create imagery of a paradise, a heavenly scenario, in which everything is fantastious and sweet. This specific part refers to the time he was with his loved one, and all the flowers were mine, suggests the narrator's confidence and control over his imaginative haven. The imagery created is powerful, and descriptive phrases are used to help the reader comprehend the author's ultimate sanctuary and the feelings of safety and peace when being there. A green island in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers. Here, the alliteration F, fountains, fairy fruits, and flowers, also help construct the scenario. Overall, This stanza has a depressing but calming tone. The imagery made and the paradise in the title suggest that the love between the narrator and the person the poem is being addressed to was as if being in heaven. The first stanza helps the reader see just how much the one that's now in paradise meant.
The second stanza begins with a metaphor about how their love was like a dream, too bright to last, implying that the one that gave the persona hope is now gone. Also, by saying that he was the one guilty for turning that dream into something so big and bringing it down afterwards, the narrator implicitly blames himself for his loved one outcome. Starry Hopes describes her as a beautiful guiding force for him. A voice from out the future cries tells him to move on. However, it is really hard for him, to the point where he finds himself stuck in a dim gulf that could represent his past that he can run away from, and him wanting to accept the death of the one he loves. In this stanza, Poe uses many poetic tools such as alliteration in M and exclamation marks to emphasize his feelings of despair. A melancholic tone is presented in this part of the poem, which contrasts with the beauty of the paradise described on the first stanza. That shows just how hard it is to lose someone important and how hopelessness can take over a person because of that. For Alice, Alice, with me. In this part of the poem, Poe makes usage of repetition to show the narrator's desperation. It also has got an emotional tone, as if he was begging for help. "Poor me," he exclaims, "won't anyone do nothing? The light of life is over. The good things about life have faded alongside his loved one." The poem reaches its climax at "no more, no more, no more." Here, once again, Poe uses repetition to show the intensity of the narrator's feelings, conveying the wanting to surrender. Another poetic tool, as it can be seen, is the alliteration in S. After the climax, the poem is calmer. At this moment, the narrator realizes that his past won't happen again, and that understanding can protect the memory of the loved one. It can make him overcome his problems. As is seen in such language holds the solemn sea to descend upon the shore. Poe uses metaphors to talk about the narrator rising after the despair. Here he is represented as a thunder-blasted tree and an eagle. Last stanza, the tone changes to a melancholic one. The narrator shows how he is not conscious about his life without the one he loved. "And all my nightly dreams are where thy grey eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams." His dreams are in that heavenly place now with his dear. In this particular stanza, Poe uses repetitions such as "and" at the beginning of some verses to give emphasis and rhythm to the poem, and because of the usage of many repetitions, the last verse catches the reader's attention. Moreover, there is the alliteration in G that appears in parts such as "are where thy grey eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams."
Overall, To One in Paradise represents the experience of losing someone as a whole. From the very first moments of denial where everything is as if a dream and we run towards a beautiful fantasy in which our loved one is still alive, to the despair and hopelessness when the truth finally comes, the solitude and emptiness to look around and realize they're only alive in our memories. Besides, the use of various poetic techniques does not only help create an image but also feel just like the narrator throughout the entire poem. And this is, above all, what makes the poetry of Edgar Allan Poe so unique and utterly beautiful and devastating. His perception of the feelings that hide deep inside us and connect us to everything we are surrounded of.
Though was that all to me, love, for which my soul did pine, a green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last. Ah, starry hope that didst arise, but to be overcast. A voice from out the future cries, on, but over the past, dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies, mute, motionless, aghast. For Alice, Alice, with me, the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea to descend upon the shore. Shall bloom the thunder-blasted tree, or the stricken eagle soar? And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy great eye glances, and where thy footsteps gleams. In what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams,